So it's now left for you individual to now go into your device and start, unchecking all this, all these permissions.
Mm. I think we've said a lot so far, and I'm sure those who are listening, those who are watching, are actually learning a lot. So we made mention of NPA, FCCPA. These are Nigerian laws,
Exactly.
right? So we want to empower consumers. How do these laws cover them? Because talking in context of their rights, what rights should they know about? So, Prof, I don't know if you can help us with that.
So if you go to both the NDPC's website and FCCPC's website, and even LASCOGA, Lagos State
Yeah,
Consumer Protection Agency,
Yeah.
you would see where all your rights are listed. Um, I know that on the Data Subject Act, you have the right to be informed,
Yeah.
right to access, right to rectification,
Right.
right to object
To
to processing,
processing, yeah.
right to report to supervisory authority. You have the right to restrict processing, right
Right
to
to
data portability,
right to erasure.
and right to be forgotten.
Nothing, yeah. Right.
So if you get off Facebook and you say you don't want Facebook anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and you want Facebook to delete everything on you, in the past they would delete, but your data is still there. So the right to be forgotten says once it's deleted, it is permanent. You have no access to any information. It is not stored anywhere else. You have been forgotten, erased, yeah, exactly. And then right not to be subjected to automated decision making. So these are the rights. Do we all understand what those rights are? First, we have to know them, and then next is to understand them. Um, but at least let's begin to know what our rights are so that if you encounter a problem, you can say, okay, this problem fits into my rights. Therefore, I have a right to be heard and to make a complaint. And not just to complain, if your complaint is proven to be accurate, and then they need to do something about it. So you have that right. So it's to really know our rights. Knowing your rights, it's like knowing the national anthem. If you don't know the national anthem of your country, shame, shame, shame. Okay, so you need to know your rights. Nobody should. We all need to know our rights. Ignorance is no longer an excuse, but we need to make those rights, and we need to make people aware of their rights. We need, like I said, grandma will not go online to read her rights.
Mhm.
Rather, with a grandson living with her in the village.
Yeah.
So how do we get them to get there, to get that information? That's when we do grassroots awareness. You do, you go to mosques, you go to um, churches, you go to the marketplaces, the market associations. This is where you go and you inform people. You have stations in banks and in areas where people can go and say, can you explain this to me? You have an awareness day. Uh, Things need to be done. And we can't say that because Nigeria is such a big country, vast country, different languages, that we fold our hands. No. We need to know our rights. Even the ones, um, it's surprising that some organizations, some companies don't know that consumers have these rights. And so when a loan app is wanting access to all of these things, they might not know that these rights exist. And therefore, anything they're doing is in violation of the consumer rights. And so we also need to make sure of the consequences and the penalties that organizations will face when they break these laws. So it's an awareness across board. It's extremely important. It needs to be started by teaching it in schools. We have to start in elementary schools, not secondary schools, not universities. By that time, they've already applied for a loan without knowing. We start in elementary schools to teach them their rights. Elementary schools, and that's one thing CADEF wants to do, and is hoping to get funding, is to make sure we start consumer civic engagement awareness across schools. We've developed curriculum and empowerment. Just take it to schools from elementary up, junior secondary school up, so that people know, young people know. Because you know what your child learns in school and comes and tell you? You'll be like, who told you? My teacher did. My miss knows it. And then you quietly pick up your phone and you check to see if it's true.
It,
So once a child knows something, the child is going to make the parents know or their siblings know. So we tend to begin to spread it across board. So awareness has to start early, quite early. I don't know what you guys have done in bringing that to schools yet.
So for Lagos State, right, what we've done, like you said, it is very important that it goes down to even the primary education.
Yeah.
So what we've been trying to do for Lagos State is this, right? Like you mentioned earlier, a lot of the organizations, they don't even know that they are actually causing a breach, or what they're doing is actually against the law.
Yeah.
And the reason why they don't know that is the fact that they don't have a professional in-house that actually guides them on privacy. So one of the things that the Act has actually mandated for organizations that process data, or data controllers, data processors, they've mandated you to have who you call a data protection officer. Right? So you're expected to have someone in the organization who is going to be responsible, for compliance, privacy compliance within your organization. So that person will be trained, certified, so that person can actually advise the organization. So for us in Lagos State, what we've done is we all know that government is one of the biggest processor, collector of data, right? So what we've done is we make sure we've been able to establish a data protection officer in each of the ministries, departments, and agencies, right? So they are responsible for compliance with privacy. So for our schools, right? So we have the education districts where we've actually established a data protection officer in them, right? So it's still an ongoing thing. So we go there, we do sensitization even as we speak. There's a project that the NDPC is doing. It's called Adopt a School Initiative, right? So they get what you call DPCOs, data protection. They're like consultants.
Okay.
They call data protection compliance organization, DPCOs. So what those ones do is they are actually organizations that specializes in privacy, and they offer data protection services. So they've mandated them to adopt a school. So even as we speak, there are 2 schools that they have actually adopted in Lagos State that they are doing a sensitization and awareness. Although they are secondary schools, I think Wab, Folawiyo, they're in Ikoyi. So that's the route that the NDPC is going. They just started that, and I think it's a very good initiative. Just last week they did the data protection awareness campaign in universities. I was actually a panelist at the NDPC. I was actually a panelist in that campaign. It was done in Unilag, where a lot of students were, when we started this conversation, it was on emerging technologies from AI, to how to protect yourself against social media. You'd be surprised. Even though they were university students, they were very, very shocked with the amount of the wealth of information they were able to gather from us. Right. So it's the same thing we're expecting with the schools. So we're looking at advocacy, in the schools, not just the schools, down to even the local government as well.
Local government is very important.
Exactly.
The amount of data they process. And have you seen how they handle people's data? Data security is not priority.
It's not. In fact, we talked about personal data. There's another class of data called sensitive personal data. So sensitive personal data, these are the kind of data that if it gets into the wrong hands, right, you that own that data can actually put you in harm's way, right? So example of sensitive personal data are your health records, right? Your ethnicity, right? Your religious beliefs, right? Your probably criminal convictions, right? Although we don't do that now, I don't do this here. Your sexual orientation, these are kind of data that if it gets into the wrong hands, there are countries that if they know your sexual orientation, you can get killed for it. There are places, even in Nigeria, your ethnicity can put you at a disadvantage, right? Your religious beliefs, So these are...
And yet, we require it when we fill forms.
Exactly.
Those things should be stopped.
Exactly. That is what the act has said.
Yeah, ethnicity should never be in an application form. Your religion shouldn't be. It's none of your business.
Yeah, exactly.
Should not be in an application form. It shouldn't. Even age, date of birth. You shouldn't put your date of birth because it's sensitive data.
So the act says, what the act says about sensitive data is, you cannot even share that data unless you get the express consent of the person that owns it. So, imagine like in Lagos State now, we have about almost 30 general hospitals, right? Where health records are flying everywhere. So that's even an area we have to sensitize, right? I can tell you for a fact, if you go to any of our general hospitals, right, we have a data protection officer in each one of them, responsible for compliance, right? We don't want to hear that because she talked about what it will cost you as an organization if you actually breach. It's quite a lot of money, and people are being fined.
Yes.
You said we shouldn't name names, but I will tell you people that have been fined over the past couple of years, right? And it's quite a lot of money. There was a firm that was fined almost about 400 million naira. So so you don't want to avoid that. You don't want to cause an embarrassment to your organization, right? So that is what we. So those are the kind of advocacy we do. We make sure that we establish data protection officers, and we now they know their line of work. Ensure that there is. Anyone that drops their data at any of these points, make sure that they are adequately protected, right? Make sure that there is no breach, right? And but like I said, it's data privacy is still new in this part of the world, right? We are going to get there. Like Prof said, one of the main things is advocacy. People need to know, so when they know the consequences of that their data just being put out there, I think they'll be able to know how to, protect it more.
So we've spoken a lot about awareness, protection, and the likes. As a consumer, if I feel like my data has been breached, what are the proper channels to follow? What are the steps I can take to seek redress? Prof.
That's a regulator who made the law.
I think Prof has even mentioned one of the rights that says you have a right to actually, lodge a complaint with the Nigerian Data Protection Commission, right? So, that part of the data subject rights just came in. We had the NDPA, which was 2023.
Yes.
So last year, the commission released what you call the Guide 2025, the General Application and an Implementation Directive, right? So in the Article 39 says that, you have right to redress, right? So if you have a right to complain to the commission. So what the commission is actually working on, I think you can actually go into their website and lodge a complaint. They said they will, in 7 days, they will respond to your complaint. That's what the commission has said. And if they find that, and so they will do their investigations, right? If they find out that your data has probably been misused or there's a data breach, then they will not get in touch with probably the data controller or the organization, and do their findings, right? So, I mean, that is a way of redress. You can go to the commission, and you can get redress, or you could go to court. You could go to court. I mean, I even prefer the court, because if your data has actually been misused, which has actually probably caused the personal damage or personal loss to you, you have a right to remedial actions. I have a right to be paid for it, right? Yeah, and I know people that have actually gone to court, and they got paid for it. I know someone that one of the banks was actually sending them emails, unsolicited emails, and he didn't have an account with that bank. So what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to write back to them and tell them to stop sending, right? He did that, and they still kept sending those emails, right? And it took them to court. That, number one, because my email address is my personal data, So how did you even get my email, in the first place? And that bank was actually fined about, I think, 500,000 naira. It's not a lot of money, but imagine every Nigerian start doing that. So after that happened, now when you get unsolicited emails, you know what you get now. If you look at the bottom, they'll now put it there that if this mail is not intended for you, please unsubscribe. It was because of that lawsuit that made organizations started, putting that in email. So those are ways you can actually, make get redress.
So the truth of it is that the burden is still on the consumer for redress.
Exactly.
Some of these portals, it's not easy for the average Nigerian to go online to put a complaint, whether it's on your portal or the FCCPC portal. They do sometimes, because Nigeria is a massive country. The demand is high, and so they might not be able to quickly get to you because they probably have 500 or 5,000 complaints already on the ground, and it's only one organization it's only one company. One organization or two organizations. Regulator organizations that are dealing with the whole population. So the time might be a factor. But the truth is, I know we are on the right track. We might not be moving as fast as consumers would love all of us to be moving at. The need to remember the consumers. I always say it's a design issue. Things are done, then later you remember the consumers, and then you draw the consumers in. From a design principle, if the consumers and their advocates are sitting on the table before the act is during the process of coming up and designing the act, developing and designing the act, if the consumer advocates were sitting on the table, it makes it much easier because they're the ones dealing with the grassroots, hearing the noise, and can say, this is what really the issue is. This is an issue, but down here, this is really the issue. So that the whole act, the whole regulation deals with the issue as a whole, not on at a high level, we tend sometimes to say, okay, this is how that country does it. It looks good, let's copy it.
So, yeah.
But that's not the reality on the ground. So as we move on, my hope in Nigeria is that we control our narrative, we tell our stories, we tell it the way it works for us as a people, diverse people on a big landmass, so that things are not revisited again and again, because during the design phase, the consumers came second rather than being on the table. And awareness is probably part of the law should be that every single organization that deals with data should have an awareness and inclusion policy that includes the CSOs that work on the grassroots, collaborating with them so that the work gets done quicker and faster.
Thank you very much, Professor Chiso. Thank you, Mr. Ibrahim. As we wrap up, is there any takeaway sentence you want our viewers to take note of?
Well, what I just say is your data is your power. You should be able to control your data. Be aware of how you use your data, right? The things you put out there on the internet, because like I said, for anyone that goes on the internet or interacts digitally, you leave what you call a digital footprint. So ask yourself, what kind of footprint do I want to leave out there, right? Do I want to be the kind of person where somebody will look me up and the kind of content I'm putting out there, is this something I'll be proud of, or they will be proud of, so data right now is the new oil. A lot of organizations are actually looking for data. People go out there to actually buy and sell data, because the amount of money you make if you have a large database of data. Look at people from loan companies to probably insurance companies, or someone that is trying to sell you a product or a service. What they need is data, right? As long as they can get data, they'll get paid. So and your data is something you should protect, and not leave it for anyone to actually exploit.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, Prof, is there any takeaway statement?
Well, for me, the ball goes back to the consumer's court. That it is your data. You have to make sure that you think before you act. This information I'm giving them, this click that I'm going to click, what will it cost me? Can it cost me something in the future? This thing I'm going to post, will I regret it 10 years from now? Do I need to be on this app? The apps that are already on my phone, do I need to delete some? So the ball comes down to the consumer's court, is that it is your data. You have no excuse. You have to be aware of it and what you're using it, it's being used for, and how it's being used.
Thank you very much, Professor Chiso Ndukwe-Okafor. Thank you, Mr. Ibrahim Kehinde. I'm sure this has been a very insightful conversation. You heard it here firsthand. Awareness is the first step to power as a consumer. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll see you in the next conversation. Thank you.